Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
What keeps some people standing when life knocks them down? Why do a few rise while others crumble under pressure? And could the secret be something you already have, but haven't trained yet? When life hits hard, most people break. They fold under pressure, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. But then there are a few, just a few, who rise. Have you ever wondered what they know that others don't? It's not luck. It's not blind optimism. It's mindset, a discipline in how they choose to see the world. Positivity isn't pretending that everything's perfect. It's standing in the middle of the storm and choosing to build anyway. Because when positivity is forged in pain, it doesn't just comfort you, it becomes your power. That's how some people bend without breaking. How they rise when everyone else pulls back. So the real question is, when life puts your back against the wall, will you collapse? Or will you find the fire inside you and keep going? In the next few minutes, I'll show you how to stay strong and think positively, even when it feels like the whole world is closing in. Because your greatest battles don't happen out there, they happen in your mind. There are days when it seems like everything is falling apart. The sky darkens, the wind howls with problems, and you feel like you're drowning in worry. But ask yourself this, where does the real storm rage? Is it out there in the world? Or is it inside your thinking? Life doesn't crush you with what it throws at you. It crushes you through how you interpret it. That's why the true battle doesn't begin in your circumstances. It begins and ends inside your mind. Every setback, every failure, every painful moment, they're not your enemy. The real enemy is the thought that whispers, "This is the end." But what if, instead, you trained your mind to respond with, "No, this is the beginning." Picture this. You're walking through a hallway filled with darkness. Most people stop. They panic. But you? You reach out your hand, feel for the wall, and take one small step forward. That, right there, is belief. That is your power. You might wonder, but what if I fall again? What if it hurts more than before? Then you rise. Again, you begin to build resilience. Not just once or twice, but every single day. Like a blacksmith molding iron, you use fire, pressure, and repetition to shape strength. Do the same with your mind. Either you take charge of your thoughts, or they'll take charge of you. So ask yourself honestly, are you nurturing courage or feeding doubt? Because when fear is in control, every challenge turns into a monster. But when your mind is rooted in faith, those same challenges become walls to climb, not reasons to stop. You decide whether today marks a dead end or a turning point. The choice isn't in what happens. The power lies in how you choose to think about what happens. When your life has purpose, it pulls you through pain. Because pain only becomes unbearable when you believe it has no meaning. But something shifts the moment you attach your pain to a greater purpose. It transforms into fuel. You weren't born to suffer aimlessly. You were made to endure with direction. Picture a man digging a tunnel with nothing but his bare hands. His fingers bleed, his muscles ache, his body bruises. Yet he keeps going. Why? Because he knows there's something on the other side. Light, freedom, hope, something worth all the pain. It's not the hardship that breaks him. It's the loss of purpose, the forgetting of why he's digging. So let me ask you, what are you digging toward? When life punches hard, your first thought may be, why me? But what if you asked instead, for what? For what reason? For what lesson? For what future calling am I being prepared? What if every struggle you face is not punishment, but sacred preparation? Not a burden, but a training ground for something greater. Picture yourself walking through a cold, relentless rain. You're soaked, freezing, every step heavier than the last. But clutched in your hand is a letter you must deliver, a message the world needs. Would you stop? Or would you keep walking, no matter how uncomfortable? Purpose gives pain meaning. And every time you feel like quitting, remember, someone is waiting on the other side of your perseverance. Maybe that someone is your future self. Maybe it's your child, or someone who looks up to you, learning how to fight by watching how you endure. Don't let a temporary storm rob you of an eternal reward. The person walking with purpose stands taller, even while the wind howls. So I ask you again, what is your mission? Identify it. Embrace it. Let it pull you forward like gravity to destiny. Because here's the truth. You become what you expect. A person who expects defeat is already defeated long before the battle even begins. Expectation is not just a quiet thought floating through your mind. It's a force, a magnet that shapes your future. You don't get what you simply want. You get what you deeply expect. Walk through life expecting failure, and your feet will drag. Your shoulders will slump. Your eyes will drop. Even your voice will waver. But when you walk through life expecting greatness, something inside begins to shift. Your posture straightens. Your gaze sharpens. Your actions grow bold. Not because the world around you changed, but because your inner world stepped into power. So take a moment and ask yourself, what are your dominant expectations? Are you waking up anticipating growth or setback? Are you preparing for progress or retreat? Now, imagine two farmers. Imagine two farmers. One rises early, prepares the soil, sharpens his tools, and plants each seed with care and intention. The other stands by, looking up at the sky, and says, "It might not rain." Now ask yourself, which one will reap the harvest? The answer is clear. Success doesn't come to those who wait in fear. It comes to those who prepare with faith. You must train your mind to expect victory, not just hope for it, but expect it like a law of nature. And no, that's not arrogance. It's not wishful thinking. It's disciplined confidence. Earned, built, practiced. It's the mindset that says, I will win because I must. I will grow because staying small is not an option. Take a moment to look at your life, your relationships, your health, your finances, your mindset. What are your current expectations creating? And more importantly, do you have the courage to raise those expectations? Resilience isn't something you stumble into. It's a daily decision, a commitment that gets tested when things fall apart. You don't become resilient by reading quotes or watching motivational videos. You build resilience by choosing to keep going, again and again, through ordinary days and heartbreaking moments. It's not a single burst of strength. It's the quiet, consistent decision to show up, to rebuild, to move forward even when nothing makes sense. There will be days when the door slams shut, when people you trusted most disappear without a word, when dreams you poured your heart into dissolve like paper left out in the rain. And in those moments, the choice will be yours. Will you retreat or will you rebuild? That choice, that one decision, is the true seed of resilience. Not your achievements, not your education, not your titles or trophies. Real resilience is forged in private, in silence, when no one's watching, when there's no applause, when only you know how hard it is to keep going. Picture a master craftsman at work, carving a masterpiece with care and passion. Then, halfway through, the wood splits. Hours of labor are lost in an instant. But does he throw the chisel in frustration? Does he walk away? No. He begins again, with patience, with focus, with purpose. Because the vision in his heart is stronger than the setback in front of him. Now let's talk about you. Maybe your dream fell apart just when it felt closest. Maybe someone you loved walked away. Maybe the career you fought so hard to build disappeared without warning. But the truth still stands. You can start again. And not as someone weaker, not with bitterness in your heart, but with greater wisdom. You're not broken. You are being built. You are built by every fall you've survived, every tear you've wiped away in silence, and every no you turned into a louder, stronger yes. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain. It's about refusing to be defined by it. So let me ask you, what would happen if you truly decided to become unbreakable? What if, instead of fearing the next fall, you prepared yourself to rise from it even stronger than before? Because the truth is, the world doesn't need more perfection. It doesn't need more people chasing applause or surface-level success. What it needs is more people like you. People who know how to lose with grace and still lead, who understand how to grieve deeply and still find the strength to build. Every morning that you choose to get up again, you're adding another sentence to a story worth reading. And here's the beauty of it. Your story is not about what stopped you. It's about what couldn't keep you down. Your resilience becomes your quiet, powerful anthem, not a song of what you suffered, but a declaration of who you became through it. So make a decision. Will you step back or will you rebuild? Because deep down, you already know the truth. You were never meant to stay down. You were meant to rise. Faith in yourself. That is the first true wealth. Before any man builds a fortune, he must first build belief. Long before gold fills his hands or praise fills his ears, there's a quiet voice inside that whispers, "I can." And that whisper, it's not taught in school. It's not given through privilege. It's born in silence, discovered only when a person dares to face themselves fully. Believing in yourself is not pride. It is responsibility. Because if you doubt your own worth, you'll question everything you do. If you don't trust your own steps, how will you ever take the first one? You cannot lead a team, you cannot inspire a family, you cannot build a legacy until you accept that your voice matters. That you matter. Your mind holds value. Your actions carry impact. Think of a ship captain steering into uncharted waters. The stars may guide him, but the crew doesn't follow the sky. They follow his confidence. If he trembles at every wave, the whole ship shakes. If he hesitates with every decision, the voyage loses its way. But if his hands remain steady and his voice stays firm, even the storm begins to quiet. The winds listen. The waves respond. You are that captain. And just like him, your belief must run deeper than your fears, deeper than any doubt or hesitation. Now imagine yourself standing before a door. Behind it waits opportunity, destiny, your true calling. But above the frame, a sign reads, "Only those who believe may enter." This isn't some poetic metaphor. This is the reality of life. Most people hold back. They hesitate. They wait for proof before they act, for applause before they speak, for certainty before they move. But not you. You must be willing to walk forward, to knock, not because you're sure what's on the other side, but because you trust your ability to face whatever awaits. Ask yourself, and ask with urgency, what would truly change if you fully trusted yourself? What dreams would you pursue with boldness? What risks would you stop avoiding? What excuses would you finally let go of? Belief in yourself isn't a luxury. It's the foundation of all forward motion. It's the first brick laid in every meaningful journey. Every great empire, every world-changing invention, every bold idea, none of them began with guarantees. They began with someone who chose to believe they were worth the effort. And if you don't yet believe today, then act as if you do. Stand with confidence. Speak with strength. Move with intention. Because the body's courage can awaken the mind's belief. Action comes before belief. And belief comes before every real victory. No one will hand you permission to believe in yourself. You must claim it. And when you do, when you finally step into that power, the world begins to respond. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So stand taller. Walk forward with clarity. And remind yourself, before you build the dream, you must build the belief. Because the person who says, "I can," changes everything, starting from within. Discipline becomes the fuel for that transformation. It builds an inner light. When darkness closes in around you, it's not more light from the outside you need. It's a fire from within. And that fire has a name. It's called discipline. Not the cold, punishing kind, but the steady, self-led strength that whispers, again and again, "No matter what happens, I will keep going." Discipline doesn't arrive with a loud trumpet. It doesn't come knocking with cheers or applause. Instead, it begins quietly, in the background of your life, in the smallest of choices. Waking up when you said you would. Completing the task you promised yourself you'd finish. Choosing honesty when a lie would be easier. Listening with patience when you'd rather interrupt with your own voice. Each time you say yes to what strengthens you, and no to what weakens you, you feed the fire that lights your path. You're not just surviving. You're building something within, a steady inner lantern. Now picture this. You're climbing a mountain alone. The wind bites at your face. The sky darkens by the minute. You can't see the summit, and every muscle in your body is screaming to stop. The air grows thinner. Every breath feels like work. But still, you take one step, then another. Not because the journey is easy, but because something inside whispers, "This is who I am." That voice didn't appear overnight. It was built, layer by layer, decision by decision. It was forged in moments of discipline, not in applause-filled victories, but in the quiet, unseen spaces. When no one was there to clap for you. When quitting felt like the simpler choice. When comfort sang its familiar, tempting tune, you didn't listen. You chose the harder right over the easier wrong. Now, ask yourself honestly, have you been waiting for the right feeling to start changing your life? Have you been hoping motivation will arrive like lightning from the sky? Or are you training yourself to move forward, even when the weather inside your soul is dark and uncertain. Because the ones who master their fate, the ones who truly change their lives, don't wait on emotions. They lean on practice. They train consistency the way a soldier trains for battle. Daily, diligently, without excuses. Discipline doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't demand your attention. It whispers. And if you are still enough to hear it, and humble enough to obey it, it will guide you to places most never reach. A place where peace isn't found in comfort, but earned through effort. Where joy is no longer shaken by unpredictable events, because it was never built on ease. Storms will come. That's not a matter of if, but when. Pain will come knocking. Doubt will try to slip in. Fatigue will whisper softly. Just rest a little longer. But when your foundation is built on daily discipline, no storm can uproot you. The winds may rage, but you will not be moved. Your anchor will hold firm. Your steps will steady with every challenge. And your purpose, it will continue to burn bright, undimmed by chaos. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a gift, a steady path beneath your feet, a quiet promise you make and keep to yourself. And every time you honor that promise, the fire inside you grows stronger, steadier, more unshakable. So when the world around you grows dark and the way ahead feels uncertain, don't wait for someone to rescue you. Don't search the horizon hoping for a sign. Instead, tend your fire, light your own lantern, and take the next step. Because in the end, the most powerful light you will ever carry doesn't come from the stars. It comes from within. Gratitude becomes your fuel, your gateway to inner power. You cannot walk in bitterness and blessing at the same time. One will always cancel the other. Bitterness clenches your fists. Gratitude opens your hands. One tightens your vision. The other expands your spirit. One isolates you in silence. The other builds bridges to meaning and connection. If you want to rise, if you truly want to grow, then you must choose. Will you stay trapped in what's been lost? Or will you awaken to what still remains? Gratitude is not a soft, passive feeling. It is a force, a discipline, a sharpened weapon in your daily battle against despair. While others dismiss it as sentiment or weakness, you must learn to wield it as strategy. Because gratitude unlocks the door to courage, strength, and clarity. It shifts your mindset. It transforms your posture. It redirects your path. And when you find yourself asking, what could I possibly be thankful for when everything around me is falling apart? That is the moment of truth. Because real gratitude doesn't begin when the storm has passed. It begins inside the storm. It doesn't wait for life to feel safe or easy. It creates clarity in the middle of chaos. Can you find the gift hidden in the grit? The lesson within the loss? The seed of hope buried beneath the storm? Gratitude isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you forge with effort, intention, and faith. It's hammered out in the furnace of disappointment. It's shaped in the heat of heartbreak. It grows in the silent ache of unmet expectations. Gratitude does not arrive fully formed. It is built, choice by choice, day by day. Imagine this. You lose your job. The structure of your days disappears. The paycheck vanishes. The future suddenly looks uncertain. But in that unexpected stillness, you uncover space. Space to reflect, to question, to rediscover. You begin to see not only what was taken, but what could now be built from the ground up. Or maybe a relationship ends. The silence that follows feels suffocating, like an echo that won't fade. But within that stillness, something powerful begins to rise, your voice. You begin to hear yourself again, perhaps for the first time in a long while. You reconnect with the version of you that had been buried under compromise, under trying to please, under becoming what someone else needed. Or maybe a plan, something you poured time, hope, and energy into, suddenly fails. It falls apart, breaks into pieces. But as you stand in the wreckage, you begin to notice something. Stronger materials, hidden in the rubble, waiting to be used for something better. Not the same plan, a wiser one. One that aligns more clearly with who you truly are. Every trial, no matter how painful, carries a treasure, if you're willing to look. Every setback hides a seed. But the question is, will you search for it? Will you pause long enough to uncover the growth hidden inside the pain? Ask yourself honestly, what blessings have I been ignoring? Is it the air you breathe? The clarity of your thoughts? The simple, powerful truth that you're still here, still standing, still able to try again? Gratitude doesn't begin with the extraordinary. It begins with the ordinary. the overlooked, the assumed. It begins with the morning sun warming your face, the sound of your breath, the strength to move your body through another day. It's in the taste of water when your throat is dry. The message from a friend who didn't forget you. The courage you discovered only because life demanded you use it. Gratitude doesn't require a perfect life. It only asks for a willing heart. It's not the reward at the end of having everything go right. It's the fuel that helps you navigate everything when life goes wrong. Gratitude transforms your entire lens. It flips your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from not enough to more than I realized. You were never promised ease. That was never part of the deal. But you were gifted something far more powerful, a mind capable of reframing reality. A will capable of choosing where to place your focus, what to magnify, and what to rebuild upon. So use that gift. Don't let bitterness blind you to the good that remains. Open your eyes and begin each day not with a complaint, but with a question. What strength can I uncover today through thankfulness? The person who learns to ask that question becomes unshakable. Because while pain will come, that's certain, despair is always a choice. Circumstances may shake you, but they cannot destroy the spirit of someone rooted in gratitude. You become like a lighthouse, firm, bright, unmovable in the storm. Gratitude becomes your posture, your habit, your quiet act of rebellion against the darkness. And the more you live in that mindset, the more resilient you become. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger. So today, make the choice to see what still remains. Choose to acknowledge the blessings that are often hidden in plain sight. Choose to speak words of gratitude, even into the silence. Because every time you do, you are making an exchange, trading bitterness for boldness, sorrow for strength, and fear for unwavering faith. And in that sacred exchange, something powerful happens. You don't just find peace, you discover inner power. A quiet, rooted strength that doesn't waver when the world shakes. Your environment plays a critical role in shaping that strength. Show me the people closest to you, and I'll show you a glimpse of your future. Because who you walk with will influence how far you rise. The direction of your life often follows the footsteps of your companions. Walk with giants, and you begin to rise. But sit with doubters, and your dream will slowly shrink until it fits within the confines of their fears. Energy is contagious, not only in loud moments of celebration, but also in the subtle, quiet spaces where your habits and identity are being shaped. Surround yourself with those who constantly complain, who always have an excuse, who delay taking action, and little by little, almost without noticing, your own fire begins to dim. Your standards begin to drop. Your dreams begin to blur. And you start accepting a life that once would have felt like settling. This shift rarely happens all at once. It comes through 1,000 tiny compromises. But when you choose to walk with those who challenge you, who live with conviction, who expand your thinking, who won't let you quit on yourself, you begin to transform. Not because they demand it, but because their presence reflects what's possible. Their discipline awakens yours. Their focus sharpens yours. Their courage stirs something deep inside you. You rise through reflection. You grow through proximity. Imagine trying to row across a wide river. Alone, your muscles fatigue. The current pushes back. Every stroke feels heavier than the one before. Now imagine others beside you, rowing with you, matching your rhythm. They speak life into you when doubt begins to whisper. Suddenly, you're not only moving forward faster, you're enjoying the journey more. That is the power of aligned fellowship. Not just company, but camaraderie. Not just people nearby, but partners in purpose. So ask yourself, who do you turn to when the weight becomes too much? Who listens, not just to reply, but to truly understand? Who challenges your thinking, sharpens your ideas, pushes you beyond your own excuses and limitations? If you find that you're always the smartest, most disciplined, and most driven person in the room, take that not as a badge of honor, but as a signal. You are meant to grow. And growth never happens in comfort. It demands tension. It requires friction. And friction only comes from being around people who are bold enough to see more in you than you sometimes dare to see in yourself. This is not about chasing status. It's not about prestige or impressing others. It's about alignment, true alignment, with people who recognize your calling, who refuse to let you drift quietly into mediocrity, and who remind you, gently or boldly, that you were made for more. Mediocrity is not your destination, and those who love you will never let you settle for less than your potential. Real allies aren't there to flatter you. They're there to refine you. They don't just cheer for the image you present. They support the person you're becoming. They don't sit silently while you weather your storms. They help you build shelter in the middle of them. And when you fall, as we all do, they don't judge you for stumbling. They reach out a hand, and they raise the bar. If you're serious about growing stronger and enduring life's storms, it's time to audit your circle. Don't just look at who is around you. Look at what they're drawing out of you. Are they reinforcing your weaknesses or calling forth your strength? Are they feeding your fear or fortifying your faith? If the answer isn't clear or isn't what you need, it's time to reinforce your circle. Build it with intention. Surround yourself with people who are committed to growth, to faith, to action. Seek out those who pray with you and plan with you. Those who celebrate your victories, but also challenge your comfort zones. People who understand that loyalty isn't blind agreement. It's fierce alignment with your highest good. Yes, the lone wolf may survive, but survival is not the goal. Thriving, that's the goal. And those who thrive don't do it alone. They rise in the presence of a purpose-driven tribe, a circle of transformation, a fellowship that reflects not only where they are, but where they are destined to go. So choose your circle as if your future depends on it, because it truly does. Walk alongside those who speak life, who live with truth, who carry a vision that lifts others as it climbs. And one day, you'll look back and realize you didn't just go further. You became better, and you became better together. Action is the antidote to fear. Fear doesn't dissolve with thinking. It doesn't vanish by overanalyzing. You can't argue fear into submission. You can't reason it into silence. The longer you sit in hesitation, the louder fear becomes. It grows quietly in the background, expanding in the shadows of delay. It magnifies every worst-case scenario until they feel real. It whispers endless what-ifs that cloud your thinking and paralyze your progress. But the moment you take even the smallest step forward, fear starts to loosen its grip. Like fog dissolving under the morning sun, fear fades in the presence of motion. You might think, but I'm not ready yet. Let me remind you of something important, something most people forget. No one ever feels fully ready. Readiness is an illusion. It's a story fear tells to keep you still. Action is the truth. You don't wait until you're fearless to move. You move first, and through movement, you learn courage. Every person you admire for their bravery didn't begin with certainty. They started with one hesitant, trembling step forward. Imagine someone standing before a towering wall, cold, intimidating, and massive. That wall seems to represent everything they believe they can't do. It mocks them. It echoes their failures. It repeats old doubts like a cruel recording. So they stand still, frozen by fear. But then something shifts. They reach up, find a small crack, place their foot against the stone, and lift. The wall doesn't shrink. The obstacle doesn't disappear. But the climber grows. Every hold they grip, every inch they rise, changes everything. Because movement changes your scale. Fear wants you to forget that truth. So, what have you been hesitating on? Is it a life-changing decision you keep postponing? A difficult conversation you know you need to have? A dream you buried under the excuse of someday? Fear thrives on hesitation. It feeds on the space between knowing and doing. But the good news? You can interrupt fear with one decisive step. You don't need to wait for confidence. Confidence rarely arrives first. It doesn't walk through the door and give you permission. It shows up later, as a result. Because confidence isn't something you find. It's something you build through motion. You cultivate belief by beginning. Write the letter you've been avoiding. Take the walk that clears your mind. Launch the idea you've been silently nurturing. Let your body move before your mind fully catches up. Because action isn't just a reaction to life, it's how you shape life. You're not a passive passenger on the path to your purpose. You're not at the mercy of life's turns. You are the one holding the wheel. And that will only respond when you choose to move. In the battle between fear and your future, motion is your sword. It cuts through the fog of doubt. It slices through the weight of hesitation. And the most powerful part? That sword is always within reach. Every time you choose to act, even if it's just a small step, you begin to shift something inside. You rewire your mind. You rewrite the internal script from "I can't" to "I'm trying." And once you begin trying, something remarkable happens. I'm trying turns into I'm doing. Fear may still whisper in the background. That's what fear does, but you don't have to engage with it. You don't fight it with logic or debate. You silence it with action. So ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today that fear hopes I'll avoid? Whatever it is, don't wait until tomorrow. Do it now. Because the longer you hesitate, the louder fear becomes. The more you wait, the stronger it grows. But the very moment you move, fear begins to weaken. You were never created to live trapped in doubt. You were made to build, to rise, to overcome. And none of that is possible while standing still. So get up, move, take the first step. Let your action lead the way. Let courage follow close behind. And let fear stay where it belongs, behind you. Legacy is not something you leave behind when life ends. It's something you build while you're still breathing. It's not reserved for the famous or the fortunate. It's not about statues cast in marble or names engraved in history books. Legacy is created in the present moment, in the way you choose to live today. It's not about someday being remembered. It's about being remembered now, in the hearts of the people you impact, in the eyes of those you lead, in the quiet choices you make, even when no one else is watching. You might wonder, what difference can I really make? But the answer doesn't lie in a single heroic act. It lives in the consistent pattern of your life. Every decision is a brick. Every word you speak is a stone. Every action is a beam. Over time, those pieces come together to form something lasting, something real, a structure that stands long after the moment has passed. So the question becomes, what kind of monument are you building with your life? Will it be a fortress built from excuses and hesitation? Or a temple shaped by courage, consistency, and truth? Will it be a pile of regrets or a tower of resilience? Imagine this. Imagine two builders at work. One rushes through the job, eager to reach the finish line. He cuts corners, skips the details, ignores the cracks forming beneath the surface. The other moves with patience and purpose, laying each brick carefully, checking the level, reinforcing the foundation. His progress is slower, but it's deliberate. He builds not just for today, but for what must endure. Years pass. Then comes the storm. And suddenly, the difference is clear. One structure collapses at the first strong wind. The other stands firm, unshaken, a place of refuge for others. What made the difference? It wasn't the quality of the tools. It wasn't access to better materials. It was the mindset, the discipline, the intentional, quiet choices made day after day. So ask yourself honestly, how do I show up when no one is watching? What kind of habits am I building in the quiet hours, when the spotlight is off and the pressure is low? What example am I setting through the way I respond to frustration, to failure, to fatigue? Whether you influence one person or 1,000, your impact doesn't begin in the moment of applause. It begins in the unseen moments, where integrity is born. Legacy is never built in the spotlight. It takes shape in the shadows, in the early mornings when no one sees, in the late nights when no one cheers, in the way you treat the overlooked and the unnoticed. It's formed in the promises you keep, especially the ones you make to yourself. And it's refined every time you fall and rise, then fall again, and choose to rise again. You are already writing your legacy. It's not waiting on a dramatic gesture or a perfect moment. It's being written right now, in every sunrise, every decision, every conversation. Each day is a fresh page. Each choice is a sentence. Choose your words with care. Choose your actions with courage. Let both carry the sound of strength. Because the future won't ask what you hoped for. It will reflect what you did. Hope is a seed, but only action brings the harvest. If today is your gift to tomorrow, then every challenge becomes sacred. Every obstacle becomes a platform to prove what you believe and who you really are. You don't need a stage to lead. You don't need a microphone to influence. What you need is conviction. What you need is character. What you need is consistency. People are watching, whether you realize it or not. Your children, your coworkers, your community, they read your life like an open letter. So ask yourself, what are you telling them? Legacy doesn't shout. It lasts. It's not measured by applause. It's measured by alignment. When your actions match your values. When your words reflect your walk. When your heart leads the way and your hands follow through. So live with purpose. Speak with truth. Act with integrity. And let your legacy be the honest reflection of your inner life. Authentic, unwavering, and real. Not perfect, but powerful. The truth is, the world may not remember every single detail of what you did, every word you said, or every goal you achieved. But they will remember something far more lasting. They will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember the courage you chose when fear would have been easier. They'll remember your faith when doubt was screaming louder. They'll remember your persistence when you had every reason to quit, but didn't. Legacy isn't something that appears at the end of your life. It's not something you leave after you're gone. It's something you form in the middle of life, right now. In the choices you make, in the tone of your voice, in your presence, in the way you rise after falling, in how you serve those around you, in the way you show love, not only in words, but in action. And when your time here is finished, your legacy won't speak through stone. It will speak through stories, not through monuments, but through memories, not through riches, but through the ripple you leave behind in other people's lives. That ripple begins today. Start it now, and don't stop, because every setback is not here to break you. It's here to reveal you. The moment when life knocks you down is not the end of your strength. It's the beginning of understanding how strong you really are. What's being uncovered is not your weakness, it's your strength. You won't fully know your power until strength is the only thing you have left to lean on. And when that moment arrives, when the noise fades, the spotlight vanishes, and you're face to face with your pain, that's when your real self rises. Some people treat failure like it's the final chapter, like it's a dead end, a signal that the journey is over. But failure is not a wall. It's a mirror. It doesn't block your path. It reveals something deeper. It reflects what you've been avoiding, the things you've put off, the truths you didn't want to face. It shines a light on your excuses, your habits, your fears. And yes, it can sting. But that sting, it's sacred, because within it lies an invitation to grow. How you respond to failure defines you far more than how you respond to success. Anyone can smile when things are going well, but only the courageous stand tall in the dust of disappointment, when plans fall apart, when dreams collapse, when the applause stops, and all that's left is you. These are the proving grounds of character. This is where resilience is forged. So ask yourself, who are you when the crowd is gone? Who are you when no one's clapping? No one's watching? Imagine you're walking a familiar path, one you've traveled many times. It feels safe, predictable, steady. But then, suddenly, you slip. You fall into a ditch you never saw coming. It wasn't marked. There was no warning. And now, you're at a crossroads. You have two choices. You can sit in the mud, replaying every wrong turn, blaming the road that led you there, cursing the rain that made it harder, reliving every decision that didn't go as planned. Or you can stand up, brush off the dirt, look back, not with regret, but with curiosity. Trace your steps only to understand where the path shifted. And then, with wisdom in hand, move forward. One choice anchors you to regret. The other sets the foundation for resilience. And resilience, it's not about having a body that doesn't break. It's about having a spirit that refuses to stay broken. It's the quiet power of choosing to rise, even when comfort calls you to stay down. It's standing tall without applause. It's refusing to let failure write your name in stone. You might wonder, how many times can a person rise? How many hits can one take and still move forward? The answer? As many as it takes. Until you're no longer surprised by your ability to get back up. Because real strength doesn't arrive before the battle. It's forged in the fire. It's sculpted in the middle of the storm, not on the sidelines. And every time you rise, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting stronger, wiser, clearer, with a deeper understanding of who you are and what you're here to do. The greatest stories ever told, whether in history, in scripture, or in myth, were never about perfect people. They were about persistent people. Men and women who were knocked down more times than anyone could count, but who always chose to stand back up. What made them legendary wasn't that they avoided failure. It was how they responded to it. And right now, you're writing your story. This chapter, the hard one, the confusing one, the painful one, it's not the end. It's a turning point. It's where the arc shifts. It's where something inside you begins to awaken. So release the shame. Let go of the lie that says you're behind, broken, or unworthy. You are becoming stronger, sharper, wiser, more grounded, more aware. Your story isn't about how you fell. It's about who you became because you got back up. And you will rise again. You were never made to stay down. You were made to stand, to build, to continue. Because the fall was never meant to finish you. It was meant to forge you. Rise, because your words shape your world. What you speak begins to define what you see. Words are not just noise. They are not decorations. They are blueprints. Every sentence you speak, every belief you whisper to yourself, becomes a building block. Speak defeat, and your life begins to lean toward despair. Speak faith, and watch your path rise to meet your steps. In the heat of adversity, when the winds howl and progress stalls, your first and most powerful weapon is not strength, not wealth, not even strategy. Your greatest weapon is your voice. Not to blame, not to beg, but to declare. Declare who you are becoming. Declare where you're going. Declare what you will no longer tolerate in your life. Speak not as someone seeking permission, but as someone stepping into purpose. Let the world know, not through pleading, but through proclamation. Because words are not echoes of your current reality. They are seeds of what's possible. And just like a seed contains the full image of the tree it's meant to become, your words carry the blueprint of your destiny. Imagine standing in a garden you want to flourish. You water it. You pull the weeds. But instead of speaking life into the soil, you speak frustration. You curse the ground. You say, nothing good ever grows here. You call the soil worthless. You call the seeds a waste. Would that garden thrive? Or would it shrink under the weight of your disbelief? The answer is clear. No garden blooms under condemnation, and neither will your life. The words you speak hold the power to build or to destroy. You may not always notice it, but the language you repeat becomes the lens through which you view everything. If you constantly say, I can't, eventually, you won't. If you say, nothing ever works out for me, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you shift the script and start saying, this will not break me, I am built for more, I will find a way, then your words begin to pave the road beneath your feet. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need everyone to believe in you. What you do need are powerful words, spoken with clarity, certainty, and conviction. Begin each day by speaking life into yourself. Not with vague optimism, but with deliberate intention. Not with empty hopes, but with purposeful decisions. Say, today, I will lead myself. Say, I am not my past. Say, my life is not ending. It is just beginning. And when fear shows up, don't sit at the table with it. Don't negotiate with your doubt. Raise your voice and speak louder. Declare your truth. Let your own words silence the noise. Drown out the negativity with the volume of your vision. Because what you say about yourself will always carry more weight than what anyone else could ever say about you. So ask yourself, what have I been repeating in my mind? Am I speaking as a creator or a critic? Am I rehearsing fear or reinforcing faith? Language isn't just communication. It's construction. Every complaint chips away at your foundation. Every word of belief adds a brick to your strength. Choose your words like a builder crafting something sacred. Speak not like someone surviving among ruins, but like someone building a palace with purpose. Your words are both prophecy and progress. They move ahead of you. They prepare the path you have yet to walk. Your words can either clear the path ahead or clutter it with debris. When you speak from fear, you attract resistance. You build walls. You invite delay. But when you speak from faith, you open doors. You summon breakthroughs. You set unseen things in motion. So stop speaking drought over your dreams. Stop labeling your vision as impossible. Stop repeating the excuse, that's just the way I am. Instead, begin to declare something different. Say, I am growing. Say, I am learning. Say, I am becoming unshakable. Life listens to your language and reflects it back to you. The world echoes what you say with conviction. So speak intentionally. Declare your identity before it's visible. Declare your future before it's realized. Speak strength into the places you feel weak. Speak clarity into the fog of confusion. Speak victory over the battles you're still fighting. And if you must repeat anything, let it be truth. You're not waiting for the world to change. You're commanding your world to rise to meet the power of your words. Because the moment your language shifts, so does your landscape. So open your mouth and build with intention. Now here's a truth few will tell you. Stillness is not weakness. In a world obsessed with speed, stillness often feels like falling behind. The clock ticks louder. The world spins faster. Society glorifies the hustle as if constant noise equals progress. But that is a lie, sold to the distracted and the exhausted. Stillness is not the absence of action. It's the foundation of all meaningful action. It is where your clarity lives, where your strength is anchored, where your direction becomes refined and focused. It is the space where the next right move reveals itself. You are not weak when you pause. You are wise. Because the one who charges forward without a map may cover great distances, but often in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, the one who pauses, who studies the sky, who feels the wind, who pays attention to the terrain beneath their feet, they move with purpose. They strike with precision, and every step matters. Busy doesn't always mean progress. Movement doesn't always equal momentum. Stillness is the hidden chamber of all great leaders, creators, and visionaries. It's in the silence that wisdom whispers. It's in the pause that purpose makes itself known. Think of a sculptor before the stone. They don't attack the marble with wild swings, hoping greatness will emerge by chance. No, they wait. They study. They run their hands along the surface. They observe the angles, the imperfections, the potential. And only then, with calm clarity, they make the first cut. That's how greatness is shaped. Not through frenzy, but through focus. Stillness is not emptiness. It is a space rich with insight, filled with awareness, clarity, and deep intention. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you were truly still? Not scrolling, not rushing, not performing or reacting. Just present, just aware, just you. With no filter, no distraction, no pressure to be anything other than real. Are you living from your core, or reacting to the world around you? Most people spend their lives in a cycle of reactivity, reacting to opinions, reacting to trends, reacting to noise that never stops. But there is something rare, something powerful, about the few who step out of that storm and into stillness. They stop, they listen, and from that silence, clarity emerges. From that clarity, direction, and from direction, true power. Stillness is where your internal compass is recalibrated. It's where the emotional static fades and your soul begins to speak. It's the quiet place where you let go of what doesn't matter and remember what does. Because in the stillness, you finally hear the whisper of truth, the one that tells you, you were never made to run without purpose. You were created to move with meaning. When the noise fades, you remember your identity. You reconnect with your values. You rediscover your vision, the one that may have been buried beneath distraction and demand. It's in those moments you realize. It's not the loudest voice in your head that is always true. It's the still, small voice underneath. If you want to move with power, first pause with purpose. Stillness isn't inactivity. It's preparation. It's not weakness. It's wisdom gathering its strength. Think about it. The greatest athletes don't just run, they pause before they sprint. The wisest generals don't charge in blindly. They wait, observe, and strategize before they act. Even the strongest trees don't grow by thrashing. They grow while standing still, rooted and grounded. From silence, clarity is born. From clarity comes conviction. And from conviction comes momentum, real, lasting, unstoppable momentum. This isn't about some distant retreat or complicated meditation routine. It's about your daily life. Just 5 minutes before the rush of the day, to breathe deeply and ask, what really matters today? A quiet pause before that difficult conversation, to reflect, what truth do I need to speak here? A sacred moment before reacting in anger, to check in, is this response worthy of who I want to be? Stillness is not surrender. It is strength. In a world that constantly tells you to prove your value by how busy you are, choosing stillness is not just rebellion, it's mastery. Because the world will keep spinning, no matter what. But you get to choose where you stand. You get to choose when to move, and when to be still. And when you sit with intention, you begin to see what others completely miss. You begin to hear the whispers others miss, the quiet truths drowned out by the world's constant noise. You begin to move at a pace that is no longer dictated by urgency, but by intention. Your rhythm becomes your own, steady, grounded, powerful. So, don't fear the silence. Don't flee from the pause. Step into it fully. Let it mold you, guide you, and recenter your soul. You were never meant to live in a frenzy. You were made for focus. Let stillness become your superpower. Let silence instruct you in the art of speaking with meaning. Let reflection become the training ground where strategy is born. Because it's only from that place of clarity that your actions begin to carry true purpose. The world may be rushing by, caught in its own chaos. But you're building something deeper. Each day presents a quiet but powerful decision. Will you choose comfort or will you choose growth? Because you can't walk both roads. Comfort and growth will never lead to the same destination. One may feel soothing right now, but the other feels right when you look back years from today. And this isn't a one-time decision. It's daily. It's moment by moment. Every action you take, every excuse you allow, every push forward or pull back, it's a vote. A vote for the person you are becoming. No one drifts into greatness. It's a path you climb, step by step, inch by inch, choice by choice. Comfort may be dressed in the robes of safety, speaking in reassuring tones. It tells you to wait. It whispers, maybe next time. It rewards you for doing just enough and never asks more. But what it gives in ease, it steals in potential. It protects you from rejection by asking you never to try. It wraps around you like a blanket, all while slowly dimming your inner flame. Comfort is the slow surrender, disguised as self-care. But growth? Growth sings a different song. It stirs something raw, something ancient inside you. It doesn't flatter you. It challenges you. It doesn't wait for your schedule. It interrupts it. It doesn't beg for your convenience. It disrupts your comfort zone, throws you into the unknown, and says, build wings on the way down. And yet, it's exactly that journey that awakens your power. Because strength, in your mind, in your spirit, in your will, is never built in ease. It is forged in resistance. Picture two fires. One blazes bright and fast. It flares with intensity, grabs attention, and vanishes just as quickly. The other fire burns low, deep, and steady, fed not by bursts of energy, but by discipline, persistence, and patience. That second fire? That's growth. It may take more time to start. It may take more effort to sustain, but it doesn't flicker out. It endures. And over time, it becomes a source of warmth, not just for you, but for everyone around you. Comfort may light up your evening with ease, but growth is what keeps you warm for a lifetime. You might think, I don't feel ready. And you'd be absolutely right, because no one ever truly does. Growth doesn't feel like home in the beginning. It feels like discomfort, like stretching beyond what you thought possible. It feels like failing forward, like navigating the unknown. But these very sensations, they're not proof that you're lost. They're proof that you're in motion. They're signs you've stepped off the ledge of safety and into the process of becoming. Yes, comfort feels like control. It gives you the illusion of certainty. But growth? Growth feels like courage. One wraps you in familiarity. The other calls you to strength. So, take a moment and ask yourself, where in your life are you choosing ease over evolution? Are you gravitating toward what's familiar, or are you stepping into what will shape you into someone new? Are you stretching or simply settling? Are you merely surviving or truly growing? Every breakthrough is born in the space where comfort ends. It starts the moment you decide to do the thing that scares you, the uncomfortable conversation you've been putting off, the first small step down a road with no guarantees, the silent efforts that go unseen and uncelebrated. Strength isn't forged because something is easy. It's forged because it's worth the effort. Discipline, grit, mastery. These aren't gifts handed out to the lucky. They're earned, and the currency is persistence, paid for in effort, in sacrifice, in sweat. The truth is, comfort may help you survive, but only growth allows you to thrive. Comfort keeps you rooted to where you've always been. Growth pulls you toward the place where you're meant to be. Comfort speaks in the language of fear, safe, still, small. Growth speaks the language of faith, bold, moving, expansive. And every single time you choose growth over fear, you're not just improving your day. You're rewriting the next chapter of your destiny. So today, choose to dare. Say yes again. Rise without waiting for the perfect moment. Embrace the thing that makes your heart race and your stomach flutter. Walk down the unfamiliar path with steady steps. Let discomfort refine who you are, not define who you are. Be the kind of person who chose the mountain over the mattress, the struggle for purpose over the seduction of passivity. Because in the end, it's the comfort you surrender now that becomes the greatness you will carry into tomorrow. Choose the stretch. Choose the sweat. Not because it's easy, but because your future depends on it. Your future is not built by how you feel in the moment. It's built by the decisions you make when no one is watching. Choose growth. You are the root, not the fruit. People chase results. They obsess over the end goal, the applause, the finish line. But what they often forget is that the fruit never grows without deep, unseen roots. You can't demand the harvest if you're unwilling to care for the soil. The world may celebrate what it sees above the surface, but the strength of your life is always hidden in the depths, beneath, within, silent but solid. Most people focus on the outcome. They ask, what will I get? When will it happen? Why hasn't success come yet? But those are the wrong questions to ask. The better question, the one that truly matters, is this: who am I becoming? Because the foundation of everything in your life is not in what you gain, but in who you are. Your beliefs, your discipline, your patience, your resilience. These are the roots beneath the surface. And it's those roots that feed the soil. It's those roots that ultimately determine the kind of fruit your life will bear. You don't grow by constantly chasing more. You grow by becoming more. And when you become more, when you build from the inside out, success becomes a natural byproduct. You begin to attract the results, not because you're running blindly after them, but because you've cultivated yourself to be ready for them. Picture a tree shouting at its branches to produce fruit, while ignoring its roots. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? And yet, this is exactly what people do every single day. They demand success without reflection, without consistency, without doing the work that matters most. They pour energy into their image while starving their integrity. They obsess over looking polished while their purpose is neglected. But the roots, though invisible, though quiet, though slow to grow, are everything. Because when the winds of life start to howl, when failure shakes your confidence, when doubt creeps in, when progress stalls, it's not your ambition that keeps you standing. It's your roots. It's your character. Your ability to remain grounded doesn't come from the spotlight. It comes from the private commitments you make when no one else is watching. Ask yourself every day, what have I done to nourish the root? Did I challenge my mind with something new today? Did I practice a skill that sharpens my path? Did I extend forgiveness to someone, even if they didn't ask for it? Did I speak up with honesty when silence would have been easier? These questions won't trend on social media. They won't win applause. But they are the ones that build a life of substance. You can cut corners in many things, but you cannot cut corners in the inner work. You can't rush the process that builds true depth. You can't harvest a field you never planted. The world may tempt you with shortcuts, instant wins, fast fame. But nature doesn't bend to that noise. The law of the seed is non-negotiable. What you plant is what you grow, but only if you protect it, nourish it, and wait patiently for it to rise. So focus more on who you're becoming than what you're achieving. Goals are useful, yes. They give direction, but they are not your identity. Titles will come and go. Trophies will fade. The crowd will eventually grow quiet. But the person you become during the journey, that endures, that becomes your echo long after the spotlight moves on. That version of you, that character, that integrity, that clarity, will shape not only your future, but every room you walk into, every relationship you touch, every legacy you leave behind. There is a kind of strength that quietly radiates from a life deeply rooted. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. It doesn't seek attention or applause. It moves with calm confidence because it knows the real work, the meaningful work, has already been done behind closed doors, away from the spotlight. People who are rooted don't just put on a performance for others. They endure. They don't merely impress. They leave a lasting impact. So don't measure your progress only by the fruit that shows up on the outside. Measure it by the integrity of your daily effort. Measure it by your alignment with your values, by how honest you are with yourself, even when no one else is around. Ask yourself, how often do you show up even when you feel invisible? How often do you choose to dig deep and grow where no one can see? That's the real scoreboard. Because you don't grow by chasing after more. You grow by becoming more. You grow when you confront hard truths instead of avoiding them. You grow when you choose structure over ease. When you say no to distractions and yes to direction. When you stop focusing on looking successful and instead focus on becoming solid from the inside out. And here's the promise. When the root is strong, the fruit always follows. Maybe not immediately, but inevitably. Because life will always reward the one who respects the process and stays committed to the unseen work. Your root is your responsibility. Feed it with discipline. Protect it with boundaries. Nurture it with intention. Let others get caught up in chasing external results. You focus on building the foundation. Progress doesn't always shout. Often, it whispers. It comes without headlines or hype. It shows up not in grand moments, but in the quiet commitment to keep going. Progress can be found in a single choice. The decision to rise after a fall, to try again when it would be easier to give up, to stay the course one more day when no one's clapping. In a world obsessed with quick wins and overnight fame, this kind of quiet progress is often dismissed. But in truth, it's the most powerful kind. We've been conditioned to expect fireworks, to believe success must come with fanfare and viral moments. But real success? It's faithful. It's steady. It's often boring to those who crave instant gratification, yet miraculous to those who value discipline. Because the strongest structures are never thrown together in a day. They rise one brick at a time. They are forged not in chaos or bursts of motivation, but in consistent effort and unshakable resolve. Imagine someone practicing piano scales in an empty room. There's no spotlight, no applause, just repetition, just focus, just the quiet determination to improve. Each note played sharpens the fingers. Each hour of practice fine-tunes the ear. The day will come when music flows effortlessly, but that moment is earned through thousands of silent, unnoticed days beforehand. That is what progress sounds like, a whisper. And only those with enough patience can hear it. Only those with long-term vision can recognize greatness hidden in the ordinary. You might not feel stronger after just one workout, or wiser after reading one chapter, or freer after one vulnerable conversation. But inside you, something is shifting. A new layer is forming. A deeper thread of character is being strengthened. These seemingly small and invisible victories are the very things that make greatness inevitable. So ask yourself, am I dismissing the value of slow, steady growth? Am I judging the worth of the journey based on today's lack of recognition? Am I tempted to quit simply because no one's watching? If the answer is yes, know that you're not alone. But never forget this. Applause is not a measure of your worth. Just because you're not being seen doesn't mean you're not valuable. Visibility is not the same as validation. What you build in the dark, when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, is what ultimately prepares you for the light. That's where the real strength is forged. The most powerful growth often happens in the most unglamorous moments. It looks like studying when your energy is gone, like choosing kindness when frustration is boiling over, like rejecting shortcuts and saying yes to the long, narrow, often lonely road. It means choosing alignment with your values instead of chasing approval from others. Choosing discipline when comfort is calling your name. It doesn't look flashy. It won't earn headlines. But it's the foundation of everything lasting. Every single day that you decide not to quit, you're placing another brick. Every moment of effort, every silent repetition, every act of persistence is building something, a bridge to your future. And here's a truth we don't hear often enough. That bridge is always under construction. With each decision, you are either building it stronger or slowly breaking it down. There is no neutral ground. Each choice adds weight either to your progress or to your excuses. You may not be where you want to be right now, but if you're still moving, even slowly, you're not stuck. You're still in motion. You're not broken. You're being built. And construction is always messy before it becomes magnificent. So keep showing up. Keep laying those bricks. Especially on the days when no one notices. Especially when it feels like no one cares. Because one day, the world will finally see what you've built. And they'll say you were lucky, or gifted, or overnight successful. But you will know the truth. You'll know it was the whisper of progress, the invisible days of effort, of resilience, of refusing to quit, that created everything they now admire. You won't need to fake confidence when that day comes. You'll already be walking in it, because you've trained for it. You've earned it. Quietly, patiently, powerfully. The spotlight was never the goal. The work. Showing up day after day, building something real, that was always the reward. The outcome isn't what makes you great. It's the person you became along the way. And if you can fall in love with that process, if you can learn to honor those silent steps forward, you will never lose. So today, take that small step. Do the task that feels insignificant, but you know matters. Honor the routine that shapes your foundation, because consistency always compounds. Tiny actions, done with care, build unstoppable momentum. What starts as a whisper eventually becomes the roar of success. Brick by brick, step by step. Keep going. Even if you don't hear it yet, progress is happening. It's moving quietly beneath the surface. And yes, doubt may still knock. That's okay. Doubt is simply the tax you pay for ambition. Every big dream charges a toll. And often, doubt shows up right alongside the dream. Doubt doesn't always arrive with a roar. Sometimes, it creeps in quietly, whispering questions, planting seeds of hesitation. And the truth is, the bigger your vision, the louder that inner voice tends to become. But here's what most people misunderstand. Doubt isn't your enemy. It isn't a stop sign. It's actually a signal. A sign that you're stepping into something meaningful. Something that matters. You might ask yourself, why does fear visit me every time I reach for something greater? Why does moving forward feel so heavy, so unfamiliar? The answer lies in something deeper, identity. You are leaving behind the version of yourself you used to be. And your old self? It doesn't fade away quietly. It resists. It clings. It fights for survival. Doubt screams when it senses evolution. It panics because it knows it won't survive in the stronger version of you that's being formed. Think of a massive bridge under construction. The ground rumbles. Steel groans under the weight. Bolts strain. Dust clouds rise. There's chaos and noise everywhere. But this isn't destruction. It's growth. It's the tension of expansion. The same thing happens when you step into your next level. That shaking you feel, it's not a breakdown. It's proof that you're building something new. So ask yourself this. What if doubt wasn't danger, but direction? What if fear didn't mean stop, but start? What if every ounce of resistance you feel is actually confirmation that you're standing on the edge of transformation? The truth is, doubt doesn't disappear by waiting it out. It doesn't dissolve through thinking or planning alone. It's conquered through motion, through forward steps, even when you feel uncertain. You don't silence doubt with arguments. You silence it with action. You speak back to it with results. You weaken it with repetition, with resolve, with the decision to keep going. You don't have to eliminate doubt completely. You just have to refuse to surrender to it. Walk beside it if you must. But never let it lead. Let doubt ride in the car, but don't ever hand it the keys. And when it speaks up again, and it will, don't panic. Smile. Because doubt showing up means something inside you is shifting. It means the old you is feeling pressure. It means you're growing, stretching, becoming. It means you're standing at the threshold of something bigger than you've ever known. Then pause and ask yourself, what version of me does this vision demand? What kind of focus, faith, and follow through must I step into? Because it's never just about setting a goal. It's about becoming the person who can carry that goal across the finish line. And in that becoming, yes, doubt will rise. It will say, you're not ready. But you can respond, I'm becoming ready. It will whisper, what if you fail? And you will say, then I'll learn and I'll rise again. Doubt gains strength in your silence, but it loses its grip the moment you confront it with truth. Always remember, the future doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to keep becoming. The future doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for commitment. You can stumble forward. You can sweat your way through fear. You can even bring uncertainty along for the ride. What matters most is that you keep going. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful, every leader, every visionary, has battled with doubt. But the difference between those who live fulfilled and those who stay frustrated is simple. The fulfilled chose to keep walking, even when fear tried to block the path. They decided that the cost of regret, the weight of wondering what if, was heavier than the temporary discomfort that comes with taking a risk. They didn't treat doubt as a final verdict. They saw it for what it truly is, a test. If doubt is showing up, that means your dream is real. If you're facing resistance, it's a sign that you're stepping into uncharted territory. Let that thought fuel you instead of holding you back. Let it ignite your fire. Let it remind you, this is growth. One of the most powerful mental shifts you can ever make is to stop asking, how do I eliminate doubt? And start asking, how do I move forward with it? Because real courage isn't found in the absence of fear. It's found in the decision that something else matters more than fear ever could. So when doubt arrives, and it will, don't shrink. Stand tall. Acknowledge it. Thank it, even for reminding you that you're stretching. And then, do the work. Outwork the fear. Outlast the hesitation. Because what you gain on the other side isn't just an outcome or a goal. It's a new, stronger, wiser version of yourself. A version that doesn't run from doubt, but uses it as a compass pointing toward growth. And here's something else few people talk about. The way you treat yourself teaches the world how to treat you. Respect isn't something you demand once. It's something you train others to give you, not through force, but through frequency. Not by raising your voice, but by raising your values. Every single day, in how you walk, how you talk to yourself, how you hold your ground, you are training others how to engage with you. Your actions are lessons. Your standards are signals. What you tolerate, you allow. What you reinforce, you invite. People don't just respond to your words. They mirror your energy. If you move with quiet confidence, they respect that rhythm. If you carry yourself with dignity, they learn to approach you with care. But if you accept disrespect, especially the subtle kind, it sends a silent message to the world. This is my level. And people will respond accordingly. This is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. When you hold yourself with consistent self-respect, calm, firm, and steady, others either rise to meet that standard or step away entirely. Picture someone walking into a room. They walk in, shoulders back, head held high, calm, steady, and self-assured. They don't demand attention, nor do they chase validation. Their confidence doesn't come from noise, but from deep roots within. They know exactly who they are. They speak when it matters, listen when it's wise, and act when the moment is right. That kind of presence sets the tone in every room they enter. It's never about being the loudest voice. It's about being the one that carries clarity and certainty. That is strength. That is what true leadership looks like. So ask yourself honestly, am I setting the tone of my own life, or am I letting others shape it for me? Do I start each morning with clarity and intention, or am I simply reacting to everyone else's demands? Have I shown, through both words and actions, that my time has value, that my voice holds weight, and that my principles are not negotiable? Respect begins on the inside. If your inner dialogue is filled with self-doubt, your outer world will inevitably mirror that confusion. If you casually dismiss your own boundaries, others will do the same. You cannot expect others to honor what you keep neglecting in yourself. Self-respect isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's the practice of living your truth with quiet, steady confidence, without apology or pretense. You don't need to argue for respect. You don't have to shout for it. What you must do is show up, clear, consistent, and unwavering. People don't learn from your declarations. They learn from your patterns. They watch how you respond under pressure, how you speak when confronted, how you carry yourself when no one is clapping. Over time, that consistency creates reputation. And that reputation builds respect, not because you demand it, but because you live it. So if life feels chaotic, if your boundaries are constantly being crossed, don't just blame others. Look within. Reflect on the moments you said yes when your heart said no. Think of the times you held back your truth for the sake of comfort. Consider the people you've allowed to stay in your life out of fear, guilt, or habit. Even when your growth begged you to let go, the world takes its cue from you. You are the standard. You teach others how to treat you, not in one dramatic moment, but in the daily details. In the small, often invisible decisions. Are you keeping promises you've made to yourself? Are you showing up on time, not just for others, but for your own goals and intentions? Do you allow space in your life for your rest, your needs, your dreams? When you do these things, quietly, consistently, you begin to radiate a kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is. And that, right there, is the kind of quiet power that earns respect without ever needing to ask for it. Set the tone for your life. Speak not just to be heard, but with clarity that cuts through noise. Act with clear intention. Stand your ground not to intimidate, but to inspire. Hold your space not to overpower others, but to define your values. And when you do, the right people, whether in your career, your relationships, or your community, will rise to meet that energy. The rest will quietly drift away. This isn't about chasing perfection. It's about owning your presence. It's about standing in the truth of who you are and saying, "This is me. This is what I believe. This is the standard I now live by. And this right here, is what I will no longer tolerate." So why wait? Start today. Look in the mirror and remind yourself that respect isn't something you hunt for. It's something you cultivate. You reinforce it with your choices. You train it through consistency. Set your standard high, then honor it in the way you live. The future isn't built by single bursts of effort. It's built by what you refuse to let slide. It's not the one impressive day that shapes your legacy. It's the steady refusal to quit. The future doesn't belong to those who move in fits and starts. It belongs to those who protect what truly matters with quiet, unshakable discipline. Their habits, their values, their dreams. These are guarded, not with loud declarations, but with simple, consistent actions. Success isn't a spark that comes and goes. It's a flame sustained by focus, by commitment, by choosing to stay the course. And neglect? It's the quietest thief of all. It never shouts. It never slams the door. It just whispers, "You can skip today," and promises, "You'll get back to it soon." But soon turns into someday, and someday becomes never. The energy you once had becomes hesitation. Momentum dissolves into regret. And when you finally look back, the road you were paving is hidden beneath weeds of delay and distraction. The gap between who you are and who you were meant to be feels wider than ever. Picture a garden. Miss a day of watering, it seems fine. Miss a week, perhaps it still holds. But miss a month, and the weeds take over. They always do. That's how it works with dreams, with discipline, with relationships. They are living things, not projects you can set aside. They need tending, not occasionally, not when it's easy, but every day. Because neglect is never neutral. It rewrites your destiny, quietly, gradually, one forgotten promise at a time. Ask yourself honestly, what small task have I let slide, thinking it doesn't really matter? What habit have I convinced myself can wait until tomorrow? What relationship have I quietly neglected, hoping it will somehow survive without my care? What talent have I ignored, trusting it will stay patient until I return? These are not just minor oversights. They are gentle warnings, early tremors before the ground starts to shift. And the wise, those who live with intention, listen to these whispers long before they grow into urgent shouts. Greatness, despite how the world might package it, doesn't require grand gestures or flashes of genius. It's not built in moments of applause or on streaks of adrenaline. True greatness is slow. It is silent. It is steady. It's built quietly, one act of follow-through at a time. One moment where you choose discipline instead of ease. One decision to protect what matters most rather than letting it slip. Think of your habits like seeds in a field. Would a farmer ever toss them aside, hoping the harvest would come anyway? Of course not. You must protect your routines with that same seriousness. Guard them like a watchman standing at the gate of your future. Because every time you whisper to yourself, "Just not today," you make it that much harder for tomorrow to begin. Discipline lightens your future. Neglect, on the other hand, makes it heavier, one day at a time. You don't need to transform your life in one sweeping motion. That's a myth. What you need is to recommit to the simple, essential things you already know matter. Wake up with intention. Protect the first hour of your day. Keep the promise you made to your body. Return that overdue call. Reopen that book you set down. Pick up that practice you once cherished. They may feel small now, but over time, they are everything. Because these little daily actions, done again and again, are the engine behind every lasting transformation. Not drama, not passion alone, not even inspiration. The one who truly wins in the long run isn't the one with the most enthusiasm, but the one who simply kept showing up. And every time you do, you lay another brick along the path to the life you were meant to live. Yes, discipline is uncomfortable. It will stretch you. But neglect? Neglect is far more costly. Because at first, it feels innocent. Just one skipped day, just one missed task. But that small compromise slowly grows into a habit. That skipped workout becomes a new pattern. That someday becomes your lifestyle. So ask yourself, what is it that you need to return to today? What mattered deeply to you once, but has started to drift away? What part of your soul, your purpose, your power are you postponing, waiting until you feel fully ready? Stop waiting. The moment is now. Start today. Start watering the soil of your life. Begin pulling the weeds that have quietly taken root. Feed the ground beneath your goals with small acts of commitment. Because when you tend to the little things with consistency, the big things begin to take care of themselves. If you give your best to this day, Tomorrow starts to build its strength from that foundation. The reward of discipline is not just found in outward success. It's found in something deeper, inner strength and unshakable self-trust. With discipline comes peace. You become someone dependable, someone who follows through even when it's hard, someone who doesn't walk away from what truly matters. Neglect doesn't announce itself in dramatic failure. It whispers through dreams forgotten and gifts left untouched. But discipline, even when slow and unglamorous, creates something that lasts. It writes a story of quiet triumph, and over time, it builds a legacy far more powerful than fleeting applause. It creates a life that you can stand behind with pride. So today, renew your commitment. Not in a burst of intensity, but in the quiet promise to be consistent. Be the person who comes back to the work again and again. The one who doesn't let the weeds of distraction take over. The world isn't lacking in loud efforts. It's longing for steady hands. Hands that build, that nurture, that protect, that refuse to abandon what builds strength from the inside out. And when you live that way, you will never be weak. You are the author of what comes next. No matter what yesterday held, failure, heartbreak, confusion, it ended when the day did. When you opened your eyes this morning, the page turned. A new chapter began, and in your hands rests the pen. You might not control all the circumstances that appear in your life, but you absolutely write your response. That power is yours. You hold the authority to write the next line. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that the past defines you, that the broken moments, the lost chances, the words you wish you could take back have permanently shaped your future. But here's the truth. While you cannot edit what's already written, you can change the pattern. And that change, however small, can shift the entire trajectory of your story. You are not just a character in your own life. You are the writer. And what do authors do? They revise. They evolve. They learn from what didn't work. And they pivot when the story demands more. Even if the previous chapter was full of pain, the page ahead is untouched, blank, and it belongs to you. Can you picture someone sitting before a half-written manuscript? Some chapters are messy, filled with missteps, sorrow, or missed opportunities. But the writer doesn't tear out the pages. They don't throw the book away. Instead, they breathe deeply, pick up the pen, and begin again. That can be you, right now. This very moment isn't an ending. It's a comma, a pause, not a full stop. It's a turn in the path, not a dead end. Ask yourself this. What do I truly want the next chapter of my life to sound like? Not just in vague wishes or passing thoughts, but in clear, intentional language. What will I choose to create? What relationships will I mend? What habits will I build? And what fears will I face head on? What will I forgive, both in others and in myself? And what quiet, determined actions will reflect the person I am becoming? You are not imprisoned by the chapters you've already written. Yes, they shape your journey, but they do not define the totality of who you are. And most importantly, they do not dictate how your story ends. The past may be the prologue, but you are still holding the pen. Redemption isn't some magical moment reserved for the fortunate few. It's forged in the hearts of the courageous. Those who stop wishing things had been different and start deciding that things will be different. Your future isn't written in the fading ink of regret. It's written with the bold strokes of your current choices, with your determination guiding the hand. So how do you begin again? You begin not by erasing the past, but by turning the page, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You take a deep breath, and you choose to forgive yourself. You release what cannot be redone. You step into ownership of what can still be shaped. Guilt becomes fuel for growth. Shame transforms into strategy. And instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You ask, what can I do with what's happened? Because every unforgettable story has a turning point. A pivotal moment when the main character chooses courage over comfort, hope over hesitation, and action over fear. That moment doesn't need to be grand. It could be this very one, right now. And that character? It could be you. Your past isn't a life sentence to stay small. It's been your preparation to rise with deeper strength and greater clarity. Every stumble taught you something worth carrying. Every heartbreak shaped your compassion. Every failure peeled away the unnecessary and revealed what truly matters. These moments are not blemishes in your story. They are bold highlights. They mark the turning points, the chapters where you began to change. Let others focus on rereading your past if they must. But you're here to write the next page. You show up with fresh intention. You make a better decision. You raise the standard. Not for applause, but because you've grown. Because you've earned this next sentence. Not for applause, but for alignment. Not to impress others, but to truly transform from within. There's something quietly powerful about making a decision, a firm, internal declaration that says, I may not know exactly how this ends, but I do know the past no longer holds the pen. That moment, when you reclaim authorship over your life, is when the story begins to shift. That's how people rise, how new chapters are born. So today, make the choice to write something different. Something true. It doesn't have to be flawless. It just needs to be real, honest, forward-looking. You don't need to have everything figured out to begin again. You simply need the courage to stop replaying yesterday. Don't stay paused in a life that's meant to move. Turn the page, even if your hands are shaking. Begin not because it's comfortable, not because you feel fully ready, but because your story is worthy of more than a repeat. It deserves a resurrection, a powerful return, a rise. And that rise? It begins with just one small but intentional act. One fresh sentence, one brave decision. Pick up the pen. Start writing your way forward. Don't let hardship steal your inner light. Hit play on your next chapter and uncover the mindset that transforms breakdowns into breakthroughs. This isn't about blind optimism. It's about building unshakable strength, brick by brick, day by day. Subscribe to Mindset Daily for more lessons that help you stay grounded, focused, and unbreakable, no matter what challenges life puts in your path. Start your rise now. Wishing you health, happiness, and strength on your journey. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.